from BHU, specializing in the field of entrepreneurship and finance. He is the recipient of the AICTE Career Award in Management. Dr. Tripathi has contributed extensively to national and international conferences, journals, and has conveyed several national international seminars and workshops on contemporary issues in management. He has completed many research projects funded by UGC and AICTE and has 3 books jointly authored with other colleagues. He has been the chief coordinator of Entrepreneurship Development Cell at IMBHU. Before joining the academics, he has worked with Rajasthan Financial Corporation in the capacity of Assistant Manager Finance. He has successfully guided PhD researchers in different areas of management. The research areas currently engaging the attention of Dr. Tripathi are entrepreneurship in developing societies, corporate governance, and Oriental perspectives in management. Dr. Tripathi is an expert member of Malviya Center for Innovation, Incubation, and Entrepreneurship, Indian Institute of Technology, BHU. Dr. Tripathi is on the board of directors of Atal Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Incubation, BHU, supported by Niti Aayog, Government of India. Dr. Tripathi is also associated with Malviya Center for Ethics and Human Values, BHU. Dr. Tripathi is an expert trainer in the field of corporate human values and ethics. Presently, he is also serving as the chief editor of the BHU Management Review. Professor Tripathi has held the position of Dean and Head of the Institute of Management Studies, BHU, from July 2018 to July 2021. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abhijit, for kind words. I am extremely thankful to the Institute of Management Studies, Banaras Hindu University, and the coordinators of this program, Dr. Anindita Chakravarti and Dr. Abhijit, for giving me this opportunity this afternoon to interact digitally with you all fellow teachers. In fact, it gives me immense pleasure to share my thoughts on the theme human values and ethics. Also, it raises some questions which I wish to share with you. Program is on time series data, but AICTE has, in its wisdom, put a session on human values and ethics. That itself needs an answer from all of us, especially the organizers. So if any of the coordinators can perhaps tell me in 1 or 2 sentences, what is the need of AICTE to put a session on human values and ethics on such a focused program on time series data? Perhaps I'll be obliged. If any one of you wishes to tell me, I'll be happy.
Sir, maybe the reason is that human values are very important subject nowadays. People are focusing on it, and AICTE has organized so many FDPs, and so many participants are included in the FDPs, maybe in my FDP also, in other FDPs also. So it's going to encourage the human values and ethics, because it's my opinion, people are lacking in human values nowadays. It is missing in our society nowadays. So I think with this platform, they are encouraging to include this as a subject also in the future curriculum. And that's my opinion, sir.
Very true, very true. In fact, we all perhaps 100% agree with the Dr. Anindita that of late all the higher educational institutions, especially the institutions in the field of technology and those who have the responsibility of regulating the various disciplines of technology, be it medicine, be it engineering, be it law, be it pharmacy, they have realized that this element of human values has been continuously receding from the society. And in fact, being little elder to you, I can share in confidence that this is our own making. When we started with the scientific temper, we thought that more rational and scientific approach to the society will make a better society. Of late, we realized, maybe after 50 years plus, that the tools that we are developing in almost all fields, those tools developed with the help of science and technology are by nature value neutral tools. But societies cannot be value neutral. All societies have their own set of values, and these values need to be inculcated, they need to be prioritized, they even need to be pruned with the passage of time. All right? Therefore, of late the thinking has been that perhaps value inculcation has to be an essential component in almost all higher educational institutions, because no society can sustain itself devoid of values. So this is perhaps the reason, and in this spirit we'll try to handle this session into two components. First, I'll be talking about the values, and then I will touch upon ethics. It's a very, very broad subject in itself, and perhaps we would like to do justice in the given time frame. Am I audible?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you're
sir, you're
audible.
audible.
Fine, fine. Now, are we all familiar with the name which is everyday talk of the day in newspapers about Piyush Jain? Yes, sir.
Yes,
No?
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Very
sir. Very
much.
much familiar.
You see, if you prompt me, then I'll be happy, because I'll have a feeling that we are face to face with the audience. All right. So Piyush Jain is a name which perhaps is disturbing each one of us. A huge amount of cash, maybe more than 250 crores, quintals of what you call silver, many kilos, maybe 20-30 kilos of gold, and several sacks of notes, all 2000 denomination, that are yet to be counted. And that too from a community which has aparigraha as one of the prominent values. Aparigraha means not to accept or take or hold anything more than what is required to sustain the life. So that speaks of the degeneration that has taken place for a variety of reasons. I'm not going to enter into the reasons, but definitely that is a starting point of the state of values that we have in the society. Right? Now, this incident and the trauma that the family members might be going right now forces us to think about the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life? And two social institutions are very, very critical in answering this question. The first institution is family, and the second institution is educational institutions. Family creates an ecosystem where you imbibe a particular culture, but more profound is the educational institution, where you have the opportunity to critically examine what you have imbibed from the family. And therefore, once you critically examine, there are certain practices that you wish to discard, there are certain practices that you wish to uphold, and there are certain practices that you wish to copy from others. Therefore, the role of educational institutions is very, very prominent in the process of value inculcation. Of late, the higher educational institutions have taken upon themselves this opportunity to be given to the people who are passing through the journey of higher education to critically examine the value set that they come from, the value set that they need to learn from others, and finally, the universal value sets that perhaps will be good for the society, country, and humanity at large. In this session, mostly I'll be talking about the universal value sets. Each culture has its own value sets, and perhaps coming from different background, we are familiar with those values, but we will be taking only few values that are universal in nature and which have been appreciated across the cultures and continents, and which have been accepted to play a positive role in the welfare and well-being of the humanity at large. Okay. Now, the education system that we followed put very large stress on the technical education and formal education. And the third component, which was value inculcation, has largely been ignored over the last several years, which we have just talked about. If we have to now expose the people about the value ecosystem and value inculcation, then it's a very, very challenging task, not only for the students, but also for the teachers, because we teachers also have not been perhaps exposed to this value panorama treatment in a right way. Therefore, it is a challenge both for students as well as teachers. Now, the diagram that you see depicts the four prominent levels of existence. These all are connected, where individual forms the core, family is the next level, society is the further extension, and nature or environment is finally the larger system in which everything has been contained. If you wish to add a fifth layer, that is purely optional. Fifth layer is the belief of the different societies about the ultimate reality that controls the nature. Because if something has been created, either you believe that nature is a self-creating, self-maintaining, and self-destroying entity, or you believe that if there is a creation, there has to be some creator. And this creator, different societies and different cultures have imagined in their own way its existence. But that is purely optional. Even if you do not imagine, the fourth layer, which encompasses all that we refer to as nature, is good enough to explain the entire phenomenon. So fifth layer I have excluded. That does not mean that fifth layer is not important. Those who have the desire to talk about the creator aspect, they can definitely talk about that. Now, what we observe today, in case of individual core, the clarity is missing, lot of stress is there, and perhaps what you call some kind of harmony is missing. Lot of contradictions we face among ourselves. At the second layer, which is the family, we observe mistrust. We also observe misunderstanding, insecurity, and generational gaps. At the further societal level, we observe the communal conflict, exploitation, corruption, violence, social strife, and similar events. And finally, the way we are living today at the level of environment or nature, we are very frequently coming across environmental degradation, water and air pollution, depletion of the vital elements, and vital resources that are needed for the very existence of mankind. Therefore, the way we are moving, what we call the way the societies are progressing, it is clearly a very heterogeneous, stressful, conflicting, violent, exploitative order that we are heading for. Okay? And therefore, those who visualize the shape of the things to come, they are frightened and very strongly they advocate that there has to be some value education to sustain this earth and all the species and flora fauna that are inhabiting this earth. Now, this we have talked about. Skill orientation and knowledge and information we have stressed too much in our education system. The value dimension somehow has got lesser and lesser attention, and the price that we are paying is perhaps visible in our society. And hence, we feel that each generation after generation, we are turning out a value diluted people. Therefore, somewhere the correction has to start, and this correction for the course of value dilution or weakness has to start definitely from the higher educational institutions, because they have the advantage of critical thinking. In other levels of education, the advantage of critical thinking is of course available, but with limited degree of freedom. Whereas in case of higher educational institutions, the critical thinking is at its best highest. Faculty also has a critical mind to think. Students also are mature enough to have critical mind to think and adapt to the best possible courses of action. Therefore, the process of sensitization about values and ethics we observe in the higher educational institutions, not only on their own, but even the new educational policy has very much stressed on this, that it has to be made a compulsory element of all educations that we give at the graduate and postgraduate level. Now, the beauty of value education is that it is holistic in nature. When we talk about values, we talk about all four interacting layers and some kind of harmony in all those interacting layers. Only then we'll say that we have a holistic approach towards the value education. Now, the pedagogy that we adopt is little different. As a student of management, or the heterogeneous background that people come with in the discipline of management, maybe engineering, maybe science, maybe pharmacy, maybe agriculture, maybe medicine. It is open to all disciplines. We have been trained to have some kind of rational tunnel vision. That means we are looking straight, and whatever is outside the range that has been completely ignored, or we are completely dark about those things. But when we come to the real life, those things also impinge on our day-to-day interactions. Therefore, this value education has to be holistic, and the pedagogy that we proceed with for value education is perhaps lecture is the least suited method. It has to be self exploration, where you make yourself a laboratory and you experiment with small concepts and you see the consequences. And once you are convinced, once you find the answer to those small queries, then you finally settle yourself mentally that yes, this is the right thing for me to do. Okay? Therefore, the journey that proceeds in the field of value education is largely by the means of self exploration. What is the meaning of self exploration? Perhaps we'll talk about in a little while. But before that, let us be clear about some terms which are very frequently used. For example, goal. The question that often asked to us is, what is the goal of life? Now, there is no single answer to this question, and there is no correct answer to this question, and there is no the best answer to this question. Therefore, teachers like us who are conditioned to have a standard answer and to evaluate the answers of the students by having that benchmark answer in mind have a natural disadvantage in the field of value education in terms of approach. Therefore, goal of life, we have to closely look and we have the freedom to define it the way we wish to define. Then another point is means ends dichotomy. Is money a means? Is it an means to fulfill the dreams and desires that we have in our life? It is an end in itself. It is a means. The span of 70, 80 years of your life that you have, how much money per day you can spend and how much money you need to fulfill your desires. That is the question that any rational individual must ask. Now, to answer these questions, enter into yourself. And you have to then clarify what you are and what towards little abstraction. But permit me to say, these questions have a moving answer series. What you want to, as you move into the journey of life. But there are certain things that remain rock steady. They do not move. All right? We'll come to both sets of things, what moves and what remains stationary in the journey of life, to take up this exercise of self-exploration. Then another distinction which we have to make is, this exploration is not by rote or by quote, which is a mistake that most of us do. I mean, we say that everybody should speak the truth. This sentence has no meaning. What is the meaning of should speak? Either you speak truth or you do not speak truth. And there was one person who experimented throughout his life and struggled to speak the truth. and the entire world called that person Mahatma. And there was another person who spoke in Dwapar, and he was called Dharmaraj Yudhishthir. Therefore, rote or quote is no solution. Quoting from the scriptures is not the intent of value education. Value education is something that is to be experienced and lived. And finally, again, these are words that need your attention and exploration. If I say that the goal of life, which was the first question we started, if I give you some words that are usually given, that every creature wants happiness, every individual wants prosperity, everybody wants to be contented, everybody wants peace of mind, and every country wants peace, which is a fundamental precondition for progress and prosperity. And then finally, some people who have belief in the fifth layer, they say that the happiness finally translates into bliss, which is the unceasing happiness that you realize. I mean, there is no limited stock of happiness that is being issued. It will never come to cessation. It is the endless abundance of happiness that we call bliss, never ending happiness that we term as bliss. Now, these points need your deep consideration. And why I'm saying these points, I have a motive in my mind. I do not know how many of you are digitally connected at this moment with me, but our duty is to sow the seeds. I do not know when the right time will come, it will automatically germinate in your mind. A shopkeeper who has a medicine shop, he does not open the shop when some patient comes to desire some medicine. He keeps the shop open, and whosoever desires medicine, he walks into the shop. So that is the approach perhaps that I have in my mind when I am explicitly putting forth this point of view before you, that maybe that something of this will lie in the back of your mind today, tomorrow, day after, when the right ecosystem will come, will germinate and prosper. Because these seeds have very, very strong cultural rootings, and they are not going to be wasted. Now, I'll come to do something of a lecturership for you. That means formally I'm trying to define what is the concept of value. Now, the concept of value is multidimensional, but I'm trying to capture this in as simple way as possible so that we can start at some point of time. Somewhere we have to make a beginning. So values are considered as beliefs. They're also motivational constructs that keep you moving. They're abstract goals, and these abstractions differentiates value from norms and attitudes. Norms and attitudes are culture and person specific, whereas value abstractions at the core are universal in nature. Now, these values also act as guiding principles for the selection and evaluation purpose. When we have to choose out of different courses of actions, our values guide, and depending on the value priority, different people arrive at different selections or evaluations. Values are also guiding our policy framework, and also they help us look at different events. The same event may be looked at by different people in different manner because they have different value frames. So values have very fundamental role, not only in terms of observation and interpretation, but also in terms of selection of the alternative and further action. Now we have a long list of values that makes the thing quite confusing. Therefore, the best thing is that each one of us prioritize these values. And this prioritization takes place based on the needs of the individual, the requirements of the social settings, and also the survival and welfare needs of the groups. And finally, values are good not as a talking point, but values would be real contributor only when they are effected into action and they are explicitly observed in our day-to-day behavior. So value is something to be imbibed, to be acted upon so that the real change may take place. So this chart briefly summarizes for you the concepts of value and finally exhorts you to put these values, whatever you choose and prioritize, into action. Now, there could be different angles through which we can look at the value conception. There is an economics and commerce angle that essentially interprets value in terms of intrinsic satisfaction that you derive, and an indirect indicator is the price you are ready to pay for. Higher the price you are ready to pay, higher the value that commodity has in your eyes. Another angle that Western scholars attach to value frame is that something which is good for the society and especially good for the human being. But again, in case of human beings, they have different connotations. The history has been partial in interpreting what is good for group X and what is good for group Y, or how far the group X may be permitted to pursue the good and how far group Y may be restricted not to pursue that good. Okay, so in this context, we have an Indian approach also about the values, which does not specifically use the term value. And therefore, if you search the internet and the Indian literature, you will find that values as such have not been talked about in the Indian literature. But Indian culture, Indian philosophy has definitely given a very, very profound treatment of values, which in a way is unparalleled. And it has culminated into the good of each contributing to the good of all. No selective interpretations for values. Now, the popular term for value here is dharma. Again, we are moving a slippery slope because to the modern mind, we have been educated through the English medium and dharma is translated as religion, which is a very, very wrong and erroneous translation of the word dharma. Dharma is having different connotations that I have tried to explain here. It may mean personal values, say, माँ का धर्म बेटे के लिए. This talks about the interpersonal relationship and the values that need to be imbibed and that need to be treated as exalted or worth copying conduct between mother and son. Similarly, virtues, righteousness, duties, obligations, and moral principles. These are the different names which, taken together, connote the implications of value that we have treated in the last slide. Right? Therefore, dharma is not religion. It's not the way we worship particular god. It has in fact nothing to do with that. Dharma is the nature. Many times we say, आग का धर्म क्या है? आग का धर्म है जलाना. पानी का धर्म क्या है? शीतलता प्रदान करना. हवा का धर्म क्या है? बहना. धर्म का मतलब स्वभाव है, धर्म का मतलब नेचर है, धर्म का मतलब वर्च्यू है, धर्म का मतलब राइट कंडक्ट एंड राइटियसनेस है. And no way it is to be interpreted as religion. Therefore, the term that we use in the Indian conception of value is dharma. And we relate this by a very famous saying. If you can read it, fine. Otherwise, I'll read for you. Yato bhyudaya nisreyas siddhi sadharma. Very old definition from standard scripture. But here dharma has not been at all used in the sense of religion. What is dharma? Dharma has to do with two things. First is abhyuday and second is nishreyas. Abhyuday means the physical progress and prosperity, material progress and prosperity. So dharma is, it is your duty, it is your dharma to prosper in terms of the material dimensions. Those who say that Indian philosophy is otherworldly, they are not in tune with the reality of the Indian philosophy. The first part of dharma is abhyuday. Abhyuday means that takes you higher and higher in terms of your material achievements. And second part is nishreyas. Nishreyas means once you have taken care of the first part, then you have to focus more. Initially also you have to conduct along with, but once this part has been taken care of with the passage of your journey in life, then you have to focus more for the salvation, for the ultimate striving that we call moksha. So dharma has 2 points to attain: striving for material prosperity and also striving for ultimate thing that we can achieve, that is moksha, liberation from this cycle, death and birth. So this is how we classify the values in the Indian scheme of things. Value is dharma, and by following these values, we have to get two results. The first result is material welfare and prosperity, and the second is that salvation or moksha. Now, in order to achieve these two, the Indian scheme of things prescribes 4 purusharthas. Purusharthas are basically what I and you should strive for in our life. So there are 4 purusharthas. First is dharma, second is arth, third is kama, fourth is moksha. Now dharma is common to all 4. it is a platform on which all others are built up. That means you have to pursue artha and kama, material prosperity, which is also called prayas. Prayas means something that is endear to you, something that you love and like to create through your efforts. All right. So dharma is the platform, which is the common denominator, and using the injunctions of dharma, you have to pursue artha and kama. Somewhere perhaps these injunctions have been ignored by Piyush Jain. Because one of the fundamental values that Jainism teaches us is aparigraha. And here is the height of parigraha. How much I can store. I don't know for whom. Therefore, the prayas which comprises of artha and kama is to be pursued and pursued vigorously, but never departing from the path of dharma. That means using the righteousness, you have to pursue artha and kama for the material prosperity of yourself, your family, your society, your country, and the entire humanity. And then the other two, Shreyas means which is the lofty ideal to be desired, which is something which is ultimately good for you. Something you like and something is good, these are two different things. Okay. For example, a bitter medicine you may not like, but it is Shreyas for you to take that medicine. Even if the taste is bitter, it's not prayas, priya nahi hai aapke liye, but it is advisable by the doctors, by your family members to take that medicine because it is Shreyas. Right? Therefore, the Indian scheme of things talks about dharma, which essentially means to follow the course of righteousness, to discharge your duty with utmost dedication, and then different purusharthas that are followed, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, that will lead to a good, harmonious social life. Now, we have traveled a very long distance from this scheme of things. Therefore, to many of you, this may be looking strange, but this is something which is very, very valuable to us, as we are the carriers, not willingly, we are genetically the carriers of this spirit, this thought, this philosophy. And it is benefiting us in many ways that I'll come to in subsequent slides. All right. So this is in our genes. For thousands and thousands of years, this has been our thought process, and therefore happily and willingly we accept these things. All right. Therefore, as an individual, we have to pursue the prayas and the shreyas. Degrees may differ depending on the phases of life that you are in. If you are in active phase of the householder life, then perhaps naturally your focus is on prayers. And once you are beyond that, once you transcend that phase, your focus is on prayers. And there is no confusion. In fact, Kabir very rightly said, I'm not exactly able to recall that, but the sense is that मैदा एक पकवान को बैठ कबीरा खाए. No matter what name you call it, मैदे से आप जलेबी बनाओ, मैदे से आप गुलाब जामुन बनाओ, मैदे से आप समोसा बनाओ, है तो मैदा ही ना. Therefore, the ultimate reality remains the ultimate reality, meaning thereby the same thing that Upanishad say, ekam sad vipraha bahudha vadanti. The ultimate reality is one, and wise people refer to that ultimate reality by different names. So you are free to refer it to any names. This is the fundamental wisdom that genetically we carry. And this is the one approach that helps us to reconcile and compromise with any contradiction in a very, very natural way, I tell you. Indians are masters to reconcile the contradictions, not because any credit goes to us or to the schools we have been through, but the credit goes to the genetic carrying over of the philosophical thought from times immemorial, perhaps, that the reality is one, and if you call it by different names, it doesn't make any difference to ultimate reality. Okay, therefore, the value system and the approaches that Indians traditionally have been following to pursue have been dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Moksha being the param purushartha. Other three relate to the worldly conduct in a rightful manner, in a proper way. Now, given this background of value education, and the role of values, let me touch upon the universal human values. These are the few values that I have selected for you. There could be many more, all right? But this is the set of 5 values that I have selected for you. And I would like to know from you, I'll read it. The universal human values list that we are discussing here contains 5 items. The first is integrity. The second is harmony. The third is trust. The fourth is mutual respect. And the fifth is empathy. I am sure as a student of management or technology, you are familiar with all these words. But being familiar with the words is one thing, and actually knowing those is another. So I again enter into a small question for you people, if you don't mind. Anyone, any of the digital friends or the actual friends, feel happy to answer these questions, all right? What is the meaning of integrity? And how is it different from honesty? Are they the same? Many times in our common parlance, we talk about these words, integrity, and we say that integrity means honesty. So, are both same? Are they different? And what exactly we mean by integrity as a universal human value and perhaps the most fundamental human value? Yes, please. I'm waiting for the answer. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Are you all with me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So feel free to share your thoughts. Am I wrong to say that usually integrity means we say honesty?
No, sir.
Are they same?
Sir, actually, I'm Bhupen Tripathi here. They're required for a
Integrity
human being.
refers to say being genuine to us, ईमानदारी हम कितना ओरिजिनल कोई वर्क कर रहे हैं, and honesty refers to a specific value which we are trying to give other person.
Can
That
you
is the-
elaborate little? Can you elaborate little?
Yes, sir. Like integrity, if you are talking about the integrity, so how genuine we are with our values. Like
Genuine means how to find out that we are genuine with our values?
like if something gives satisfaction to us, something match with our goal, that comes under the head of integrity. Okay, sometimes it is possible, like if something is genuine to me, it looks awkward to other person.
No, just a second. I would like to interject here. If you pay
Yes, sir.
attention, Bhupendra,
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Bhupendra, these are the universal values we are talking about. There is no scope that they are perceived one way by me and other way by you. Okay, these are universal
Like
values.
on individual level, I try to discriminate both things, sir. Like although
I mean, if you explore, then this difference, that is the perceptual difference, okay, it will evaporate. If you explore deeply at individual level, integrity will be integrity for everybody. I tell you, all right, and that is why when the character role is written in the government services, the first column is integrity.
yes, sir.
We do not know the meaning, and we write whatever we can write as a boss because nobody is there to check our pen. So we write the person is honest, this, that, whatever you want to write. Or many people write integrity is intact. All
Yes,
right?
definitely. Sir.
But we do not really understand the meaning in depth, what exactly this means. And ईमानदारी तो है, उसका मतलब ही honesty हो गया. Anyone else? It's a good effort. I appreciate it. It's a good effort because these are difficult areas. Okay, so it's a good effort anyway. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Integrity and
Sir,
honesty.
Sir, like if I do something with 100% precision for my satisfaction, and I know कि if some defect is there, suppose कि मैं कोई काम कर रहा हूँ और उसमें कोई एक छोटा सा डिफेक्ट है, that is not measurable, जो आपको visible नहीं है, but I know कि that is defect, यहाँ पे ये problem है और मैं उसे correct कर रहा हूँ, तो that is integrity, sir.
Okay, let
That
me
is
give you some
honesty towards
explicit
my
hint. This requires a lot of thinking.
Okay, sure.
Honesty is that part of behavior which is exhibited, observable, and commentable. Okay.
Yes, sir.
आप अंदाजा लगा लें पर्सन ऑनेस्ट है कि डिसऑनेस्ट है. वो पर्सन खुद भी जानता है कि ऑनेस्ट है कि डिसऑनेस्ट है, लेकिन अदर्स आल्सो कैन से with definitiveness that you have been dishonest, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So honesty is the explicit observable part of behavior which can be observed, commented, and
By others.
established. Okay, and established कि आप dishonest हैं. All right.
Yes, sir.
Now you all be with me for a second. But whatever we behave, we have two other steps that precede this behavior. Okay. For example, psychology, we say that attitude precedes the behavior. Right. But here in the traditional scheme of things, we say that we ideate something at the mental level. Okay. Then we put it into expression and then it comes into action. ठीक है? जैसे मान लीजिए कि एक सिंपल बात है कि क्लास 10 के बच्चे, उनको आप पीटी करा रहे हैं, तो आप कहते हैं, पहले आप मन में सोचते हैं कि अच्छा आप सावधान बोलना है, फिर बोलते हैं सावधान, फिर पूरा जो ग्रुप है वो सावधान अटेंशन की पोज में खड़ा हो जाता है. Isn't it? So mental, verbal, and then actual. Getting the point? 3 steps. Honesty relates to the one part which is visible expressly. Are you getting the point?
Yes, exactly.
But
sir.
it is quite possible that we think differently in our mind, but we were forced of the situations to act differently. Isn't it? We wanted to select somebody else. We had somebody else in our mind. But the turn of events in selection committee went such a way that finally we had to select the best candidate. And then we say that, you see, the committee has been honest to select the best candidate. Of course, the committee has been honest, but you have not been following the value of integrity. You have finally given up to the group's pressure for honesty. That is fine. But it cannot be said that you have been integral. Say for example, आपको एक एग्जांपल दें कि महाभारत की लड़ाई में युधिष्ठिर तो धर्मराज थे ना। युधिष्ठिर का रथ जब चलता था तो जमीन से वो 6 इंच ऊपर चलता था। ये सत्य की ताकत थी। एंड द मोमेंट ही सेड अश्वत्थामा मरो,
हतो हता।
जमीन पर चलने लगा।
वेरी नाइस सर।
यह ऑनेस्टी से आपका विपथन हो गया। यू हैव डिपार्टेड फ्रॉम ऑनेस्टी विच इज ऑब्जर्वेबल आल्सो। आपका रथ 6 इंच ऊपर चलता था, नीचे चलने लगा। लेकिन इसके कहने के पीछे युधिष्ठिर के अंदर में बहुत बड़ा तर्क वितर्क और डिबेट चला। He was struggling with the virtue that we call integrity. And finally he decided not to uphold the integrity, and he became apparently or actually dishonest also in his speech and action. ठीक है?
So sir, that is the compromise of integrity.
बिल्कुल, definitely, yes. He was disintegral. तो इंटीग्रिटी का मतलब क्या है? जो आप सोचें वही कहें वही करें, वो इंटीग्रिटी।
खुद से ईमानदार होना, that is integrity sir.
हाँ, मतलब अब ईमानदार शब्द जो है फिर वही बात आ जाती है, वो विजिबल ऑब्जर्वेबल रेंज में आ जाता है। ठीक है ना? ऑनेस्टी इज ए पार्ट ऑफ इंटीग्रिटी। इसके 2 और स्टेप हैं जो औरों को नहीं विजिबल होते लेकिन आपको विजिबल होते हैं। व्हेन यू अंडरटेक सेल्फ एक्सप्लोरेशन, व्हेन यू गो डीपर इनटू योरसेल्फ ऑनेस्टली, then you will find that somewhere you are infringing the value we call integrity. Is it clear?
Yes, definitely sir. Very much crystal clear sir. Thank you sir.
ये पहला यूनिवर्सल वैल्यू है इंटीग्रिटी का, जिसका एक कंपोनेंट ऑनेस्टी होता है, लेकिन 2 और कंपोनेंट है जो खाली आपको दिखते हैं। दैट इज व्हाई महात्मा गांधी रोट द एक्सपेरिमेंट्स विद ट्रूथ। हैव यू रेड दैट बुक, माय एक्सपेरिमेंट्स विद ट्रूथ?
Sorry sir.
नहीं पढ़ा। यही तो हम लोग की मजबूरी है, थोड़ा पढ़ना चाहिए। उसमें he has been trying to uphold his integrity. Many places where he has faltered, he has revealed his thought process and mental process. कि कई बार मेरे मन में ये काम करते हुए गलत विचार आए, विचार गलत आए लेकिन एक्शन मैंने सही किया, जो ऑब्जर्वेबल फ्रंट में था, क्योंकि मैं महात्मा बन गया था, लोगों की नजर में मैं महात्मा हो गया था। ठीक है ना? तो माई इमेज वॉज सो टॉल दैट द एक्शन एक्चुअली वॉज ऑनेस्ट, लेकिन इंटेग्रिटी के टर्म्स में आई फाल्टर। उन्होंने खुद एडमिट किया। ऑलराइट, then second is harmony, third is trust, fourth is mutual respect, and fifth is empathy. I'll come to one by one quickly because I want to leave some time for you for interaction also. Now we try to understand integrity, although these words are not sufficient to understand. Each value needs to be pondered upon deeply and internalized through the process of self-exploration. But simply integrity means maintaining unfailing principles, following through, doing what you say, being consistent, and reinforcing a fixed point. Okay? It is the pivot upon which everything from family to stock market can continue to function. इसका मतलब ये है कि हम कहते हैं कि the world is changing very fast, this, that. But there are certain things who do not change. And if those things change, then perhaps the world will not survive. Jaise, the aeroplane moves very fast, but you maintain the direction of the aeroplane based on the fixed map that is visible on your dashboard. If that map also becomes turbulent, if its coordinates are not fixed, then perhaps you will never be reaching the destination. All right? Similarly, in our life, integrity is one such value that we have to uphold, and it never changes. It is the unchanging value in changing times. Times may keep changing, but this integrity will hold the individual, the family, the society, and the environment in a harmonious manner. So therefore, it is the most fundamental value. And that is why this is the first item, whether it is the character role in the government services, whether it is the list of universal human values, integrity remains the first and foremost item. Then second thing is about harmony. Harmony perhaps we are more familiar with. Okay? Harmony is what you say at different levels. Harmony with self, harmony in family, harmony in society, and harmony with nature we live in, the environment we live in. Okay? Now, if we maintain this harmony, the result is that it leads to happiness and prosperity. Happiness addresses the mental and emotional part of our requirement. Prosperity addresses mainly the material well-being of the person. Okay? That is why they have been segregated. Also, although prosperity also contributes to the happiness, all right? But these are two different things, and there are different scheme of things to attain these two, all right? So, if you have a good food, so you feel happy. And if you have a good car, then people say that you are prosperous. Here is a prosperous family, isn't it? And when say that here is a prosperous family, if you have a, say, luxury car, then listening to their comments again, you feel happy. While paying for the car, you may be little unhappy, but by listening to the comments of your near and dear ones and your neighbors, again you feel happy. Right? So happiness is the part of emotion, and prosperity is basically addressing the material aspect of your life. Both are equally important. Now, when we have we have more than our requirement, we say that we are prosperous. Whatever you feel is required, say if you feel you require a house, you require a car, you require a family, you require a bank balance, and you require XYZ. So whatever your material requirements, if you have more than that, it is prosperity. Prosperity and wealth, these are two different things. Piyush Jain may have a lot of wealth, but if you have followed the news, he used to travel in Priya scooter and a Santro car, very simple clothes. So he never exhibited his wealth so that people can guess that yes, here is a prosperous person. Okay? So prosperity is having adequate or having more than the minimum requirement to sustain yourself in this day-to-day world. Now, these physical facilities, when you exploit the environment and you have more than required, it is prosperity. But there is a danger here.
ठीक है तो मैं ये कल मॉर्निंग में कर दूं
when you have what you call just enough, that is what Kabir said, साईं इतना दीजिए जामे कुटुंब समाए, मैं भी भूखा ना रहूं, साधु न भूखा जाए. That is not prosperity. But the times we are living in, we want our requirement plus plus. Now these pluses you can put 1, 2, 3, 4, depends on person. All right. But when this becomes indiscriminate, this prosperity leads to mindless exploitation of the environment, and nature goes under stress. Therefore, you have to have right understanding of prosperity. Animals are not prosperous. Okay? Because animals are by design eating what is fulfilling their biological need. They are not into the business of collecting more than what they require for the living. But human beings, if they do not have the right understanding, then this race for prosperity will lead to a competition where perhaps the nature will be under threat. And that is what we have done. All right. Therefore, prosperity has got to be interpreted with right understanding in such a way that we have enough of material abundance to sustain ourselves comfortably. At the same time, nature is also feeling equally comfortable. That means point view that I have listed on the right side box. To live in such a mutually fulfilling manner where the nature and the people both are enriching each other. That means we are prosperous, but we are not exploiting the nature to the detriment of environment and of our future generations. Okay. Similarly, in case of relationships also, when we have relationship with other people, this leads to fulfillment. But again, we have to have right understanding so that these relationships create some kind of harmony. Therefore, what happens? Both for happiness, we have relationship. For prosperity, we have physical facilities. Both need to be governed by right understanding. Now you see, this is a modern way of saying same thing, that earth and karma need to be administered with the foundational qualification of dharma. Dharma is right understanding. If you treat the relations with right understanding, they will yield happiness. If you treat the relations with not right understanding, there will be disturbance, there will be depression, there will be stress, there will be violence, and all those undesirable things into the society will happen. All right. And so is the case with physical facilities also. Therefore, harmony is attained by having right understanding about our relationships with the people and with our environment. Is it okay? Then I'll come to the third universal value, which is trust. And the point that I said earlier, that unknowingly we are the beneficiaries of the genetic thinking which has been passed on from generations to generations, where we are the masters to reconcile the non-reconcilables. Binu pad chalai sunai binu kana binu kar karma karai bidinana tadeja titanneja titad dure tadantike tadantarasya sarvasya tad sarvasya bahyata. All opposites, वो दूर भी है, वो पास भी है, वो भीतर भी है, वो बाहर भी है, वो सुनता भी है, वो बहरा भी है, उसके पैर भी नहीं है, वो चलता भी है. So this philosophical mindset has given us the dexterity to negotiate with much simple contradictions in our life. Therefore, we are not bogged down by the contradictions. And that is why you see, when Tata Sons Trust, that holds all the Tata Group companies, the overarching body, first the situation you all, perhaps as a student of management and engineering, may be familiar, that Ratan Tata named Cyrus Mistry, who holds a sizable chunk in Tata Trust, about 18-19%. But when things were not on the right path, in the wisdom, they decided to induct somebody which was not the mandate of the Tata Sons. Mandate was that somebody from the Tata Sons lineage will be the chairman. But finally, N. Chandrasekharan was inducted. And similarly, the diagram you see, all this is the gift of the millennia that we are enjoying today. And if you read the last line, okay, sense of dispassionate dedication to discharging one's duties. This is the crux of trust. You discharge your duty with utmost sincerity but with a dispassion. इसको कहते हैं गीता का सार. So whether you acknowledge, whether you do not acknowledge, but genetically we are the beneficiaries, and that is why we are the exclusive people the world over. We means we, the inheritors of the Indian culture, where the geographical boundary becomes meaningless. The geographical boundary of India in this sense becomes meaningless. Wherever we are on the globe, we have that gene, that mindset, that cultural crux understanding. And that is helping us to discharge our duties with dedication and dispassion. Now, being passionate is a good thing, I'm not saying, but being passionate goes thus far only. In order to hold the trust of the people, you have to follow this pattern only. That you are married only to the task you are discharging and no other deviation. Therefore, trust remains a fundamental value. And wherever we are not able to uphold this trust, whether it is family, whether it is larger community, whether it is country or company you are heading, or even in yourself, if you commit something to yourself and you do not hold this, and you do not honor or uphold this for a certain number of times, then perhaps you start feeling not so good about yourself. आप कुछ कहते हैं मुझे खुद अच्छा नहीं लग रहा. Therefore, trust is the bedrock of all relationships, and right relationship and right understanding of prosperity we have seen generates harmony. All right? Therefore, if you have the trust, automatically what follows is harmony. So we have some advantage over other cultures in this sense. Then finally, I'll come to the next, which is the mutual respect and empathy. Mutual respect, you see, there is a benefit of mutual respect. Again, I've said that values are not to be learned by rote or quote. I am compelled to quote, अभिवादनशीलस्य नित्यं वृद्धोपसेविनः चत्वारि तस्य वर्धन्ते आयुर्विद्या यशो बलम्. That means, if you give mutual respect, that creates the space and level playing field for trustworthy exchange of ideas. And no learning, no discourse, no debate can take place if you do not follow this minimum condition of mutual respect. Therefore, in schools, in colleges, in homes, this is very important for free and fair interactions and interchange of views, that we have mutual respect for each other. This is the basic condition that facilitates the thing. It creates a hospitable working environment in which people open up. They try to experiment with their capacities and they try to actualize their potential. This is the beauty of mutual respect. All right. And finally, I will talk about the last value, which is empathy. Okay? Empathy, we are familiar. Empathy को हिंदी में कहते हैं समानुभूति. इसको अंग्रेजी में एक जुमला आता है कि exactly to know where the shoe is pinching. Okay? Or putting yourself in someone else's shoe, right? So that you know where exactly the shoe is pinching. Samanubhuti, samanubhuti. All right. So if you put yourself in that role, you first hand realize. All right. Therefore, in many trainings in Gurukulas, one of the training for Snataka was to go and collect bhiksha from the town or from the surroundings. भिक्षाटन में होता क्या है? सबसे पहले तो आपका सेल्फ खत्म हो जाता है ना, कोई देता है, कोई नहीं देता है, कोई कैसे देखता है, कोई कैसे देखता है। तो आपको हर तरह की अनुभूति करनी है, कैसे करनी है, उसी के रोल में जाके करनी है। When you imbibe that role, then you have the first hand, or you call it direct experience. Aparokshanubhuti means direct experience. Parokshanubhuti means I read it, I heard it, I listened from somebody. That is not the direct experience. Okay. So empathy is a very good value for managers, for leaders, and for individuals. Because unless you empathize with the person, you will not be able to really understand what is going into his or her mind. And if you do not know his or her mind, or if you do not appreciate the mind, you do not appreciate the actions which are naturally the follow-up of the mental thinking process. Therefore, empathy remains a fundamental value, universal value, which we all must practice to the best extent possible. So in total, I have listed a bouquet of 5 values: integrity, harmony, trust, mutual respect, and empathy, which are having lasting role in shaping good human being and a good society. Then very briefly, I'll touch upon the ethics part, and perhaps we'll open for the question answer. Right? Now, ethics is something which is a social concept. If somebody is living in a forest as hermit, there is no question of ethics. If I'm all alone in the house and that is the only society that comprises, rest is jungle, then there is no question of ethics. There may be a question of morals. Morals pertain to individuals, but ethics comes only when we have the interactive environment. All right? Therefore, when social interactions are premised on the uncompromising belief that self and the other deserve equal consideration, that is all about ethics. We have to understand self and the other deserve equal consideration, no matter who the other is and where they come from. Right? That means, to put it in simple words, do to others what you want to be done to yourself, or do not do to others what you do not want to be done to yourself. Doesn't matter who the others are. The moment you go into who the others are, you are deviating from the path of ethics. So whosoever the nameless, faceless others are, the consistency in yardstick that what you like for yourself, indulge into similar behavior for others. That is what the crux of ethics is. And very beautifully put in the Indian thinking tradition. Shruyatam dharma sarvasvam. Dharma again doesn't mean religion. धर्म का मतलब डेडिकेटेड सेंस ऑफ ड्यूटी. उसका निचोड़ क्या है? श्रुवताम धर्म सर्वस्व. उसका निचोड़ क्या है? उसको आप सुनिए, आप सभी सुनिए. श्रुत्वा चाप्यवधार्यताम, एंड यू ट्राई टू इम्बाइब इट. सुनने से खाली काम नहीं बनेगा. कहता है श्रुत्वा चाप्यवधार्यताम, उसको धारण करने का प्रयास करें, क्योंकि धर्म वही है जो धारण किया जाता है. आत्मनः प्रतिकूलानि परेशान न समाचरे. जो अपने को अच्छा न लगे ऐसा व्यवहार दूसरे के साथ नहीं करना चाहिए. यही सारे धर्म का निचोड़ है और यही इथिक्स. इसी बात को अंग्रेजी में हमने कहा तो इसको ऐसे कह दिया, इट इज बेस्ड ऑन द सिंपल प्रीमाइस दैट सेल्फ एंड द अदर डिजर्व इक्वल कंसिडरेशन, नो मैटर who the other is. All right? Ethics, therefore, is based on unqualified assumption that there be first and foremost a quality of sameness accepted universally by all social entities. Easier said than done. you look around, including all of us, we have different yardsticks for different situations. लोग कहते हैं, you tell me the person, I'll tell you the rule. जिसको कहते हैं कि आदमी को देख करके रूल बताया जाता है. That is the common thing in most of the organizations. That is why we say that we are very, very poor practitioners of ethics. Okay. Now, when we say this for ethics, professional ethics becomes much more questionable. Therefore, the view of Puritan philosophical ethics needs a little departure so that professions can also coexist. All right. इसी के अंतराल में सारे प्रोफेशन की गरिमा है. And that is why the next slide that I'll be talking about is about the professional ethics, which perhaps is not here, but I'll tell you. The ethics is 24 karat gold. That whatever you do to yourself, the same should be done to others. But using that yardstick, professions will be in difficulty. That is why professional ethics is, I will explain with the help of simple example, that if ethics is 24 karat gold, professional ethics is 22 karat gold. 2 carats you have to mix other things so that you can make beautiful ornaments from the gold. You still call it gold ornaments because the majority percentage remains gold, but something you have to mix so that professions are able to operate properly. That something goes to the extent of 2 carats. If you have all 24 carats, व्यवहार पॉसिबल नहीं है. उस सोने से गहना नहीं बनेगा. और अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा मिलावट कर देंगे तो भी अच्छा गहना नहीं मिलेगा. तो प्रोफेशनल इथिक्स है 22 कैरेट गोल्ड, क्योंकि ये दुनिया जो है सत्यासत्य के अंतराल में है. Therefore, this much of concession is pragmatic to be given from the Puritan philosophical concept of ethics for the professional ethics. If we take liberty and move beyond that, then perhaps we are compromising with the quality, and the consequences are to be definitely suffered. All right. So I'm closing here. Essentially, we have touched upon the 5 universal values, the significance of values in higher education, and the approach that we must adopt, that is of self-exploration as a pedagogy or inculcation of values. And finally, ethics, which largely derives its sustenance from a universal value like empathy, right, is the core stay, and that is why ethics has a very strong support of law. The 4 corners of the legal walls define that if a professional business conducts itself within that sphere, it is ethical and legal, and if you transcend that, it is illegal and also it is unethical. If you move from value to virtues, you are transcending that, and if you transcend the legal boundaries and willingly move towards the higher reaches of ethics, then it is said that you are a conscientious corporate citizen, where you have the larger good, where you have the higher common good in your mind, besides the business profits. Right? So I'm closing here, and I'm opening the session for your observations, remarks, and questions, please. Feel free to share your observations and questions. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Participants, if you have any questions, you can ask, sir.
No, not if. I have given time for asking questions only. Deliberately, I have concluded. All right. Otherwise, it will be a monologue that will lose its significance. All right. So feel free to speak your mind. Not exactly questions, whatever you have your thought on this issue, because this is a very, very important issue, and teachers need to be sensitized so that we can pass on this to the young generations. All right. So please, I'm waiting for your queries, observations, whatever.
Bhupendra ji, I think you want to ask some questions? Bhupendra Tripathi ji.
Hello, hello, ma'am. Actually, no, I don't have any question, but I just want to say thanks to sir to explain the things in so much simplified manner. In fact, lots of doubts are clear by the sir's class. So definitely, I'm very thankful to sir for this lecture, sir.
All right, but credit is not to me. The credit is that I have few years more added to my life than you. So the advantage is that of experience. No credit to me, Bhupendra. All right. Waiting for
Thank you.
further
Thanks a lot,
questions.
sir.
Yes, this is one field where I think I expected a lot of questions.
Hello.
Because everything is right. I said nothing is wrong here. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, sir, am I audible to you?
Yeah, you are audible. You are audible, Dr. Patil. Please go ahead.
I'm from Hyderabad. I believe in, this is my feeling, the values have to be taught at home, because when we teach undergraduates or postgraduates, is there any scope still to teach them any values?
Abhijit, I'm not able to listen to the question. Have you been? Can you pass it on to me?
Even I was not able to listen, sir.
Yeah,
It was very,
please
very
speak a little louder so that we can listen to the question.
Sir, are you able to hear me, sir?
Yeah.
I believe in, we are the teachers from, for the undergraduates and postgraduates. I feel that values have to be taught at the home level, because by the time they come to the higher education, they are totally shaped with their values and everything. Do you think still there is any scope for inculcating any values to them?
Yes. Have you heard it, Abhijit?
Yes, actually, what I heard, she's saying that in higher education, it's too late to inculcate values. So, is there a scope for inculcating values at higher education?
All right. That's a very good question. In fact, I must appreciate. Madam, it's a very good question. And to some extent, it is genuine also. I will not say that the initial part, the psychology says that up to the age of 5 years, your mind has grown up to 95%. Mental growth has already taken place. So after 5 and before you go to school actively is the right age to inculcate and imbibe the values. That way you are correct. All right. But what I said, perhaps one word has missed your attention, perhaps. That is about critical thinking. Many of the values that we learned from our family and environment, okay, today at this late age of a long journey and long experience, we are critically able to dispassionately think over those values, and now we are able to adopt some of those values and discard some of those values. All right, because the advantage of this stage is the critical thinking. Now critical thinking gets developed not only because of your maturity of faculties, mental faculties, but also because of your exposure to different kind of environments where from you pick up the inputs, all right? And you place those inputs before whatever yardstick you have acquired, right? And then you critically analyze. Many examples I can give you, but I would not like to go into the personal details. For example, people like us who in a way come from a relatively conservative background have been able to question many of the values that we imbibed and imbibed meticulously. Right? So the values that you imbibe in the early stages are perhaps the indelible mark. You cannot easily erase those values. All right. But when you are confident enough through the process of self-exploration, then in a dispassionate way you can analyze. Even after analysis, you may muster the courage to discard those values, or you may decide to sail smoothly along with the social pressure. All right? Okay. That also happens. Many people, they analyze, they come to the conclusion that this is okay, not very critical thing for me, but even then they continue that process. If I have continued for 40 years, let me continue it for another 40 years or 30 years, whatever is remaining. But that is dispassionate continuation. Are you getting the point? I'll not go into the specific examples at this forum, but I can cite several cases where through critical examination, we have been able to list number of such values, and we have been able to ward off the negative effect of those values and thus open our mind to become more receptive, more free, to create more space in the mind to be freely deciding what to accept, what to reject. All right. So whatever you pick up in the early stages, everything may not be the right value, but still, I take your larger point that parents are the first school for the children, and parents need to be sensitized about this. That whatever the way they conduct themselves, children are very observable lot. They not only observe your words that you speak, they learn more from the way you conduct yourself. So this sensitization needs to be done. Okay, and that is why it is an injunction in our Indian wisdom system that you do not follow the actions and behavior of the teacher, you follow what the teacher says. Okay? Shastresu Guru Vakyesu Shraddha. Whatever the teacher says, whatever he does, then you have to be critical. Whatever he is doing may be perfect, maybe 80% perfect, maybe 60% perfect. Because ये संसार का व्यवहार तो है ही इस तरह, nobody is 100% perfect. But whatever he says, that you have to pay attention to. Therefore, I largely agree with you that family remains the first school for values, but then the critical thinking and editing of those value patterns is upon us. And if we are sensitized through value workshop in right way, then most of us perhaps will willingly indulge into this self, what you call weeding out process. Certain values will keep firmly, certain values will do away with, certain newer values we would like to implant. All right. Hope you agree with this explanation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Yes, please.
Any other questions? Participants, any other questions?
क्या हो गया मैडम, आपने पहले सेशन में बहुत ज्यादा टायर्ड कर दिया क्या पार्टिसिपेंट्स?
हाँ सर, लग तो ऐसा ही रहा है।
क्योंकि ये तो बहुत हल्का फुल्का सेशन है, इसमें तो बहुत कुछ आना चाहिए।
पर एक्चुअली सर देखने में हल्का फुल्का है, पर सबसे ज्यादा डेप्थ इसी में है।
ऐसी बात तो नहीं।
Hello. Hello.
हाँ, यस प्लीज गो अहेड।
Okay, thank you, sir. Actually, I was unable to track either my voice is reaching to you or not. Okay.
नाउ यू आर ऑडिबल डॉक्टर पाटिल, गो अहेड।
Okay. Sir, I had two questions. One question was already asked by Hari Kalyani. So I will not focus on that. Another question was in value education, the role of dharma is higher one. And nowadays there is a confusion between dharma and religion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
true.
in that context, if you focus some light, I will be happy to listen.
इसमें हम एक आपको जोक सुनाते हैं पहले, छोटा सा है? एक हम लोग को क्या है, इंग्लिश, हम लोग का एजुकेशन इंग्लिश मीडियम से है ना, तो इसलिए वो रिलीजन ज्यादा आ गया। आई डू नॉट नो विच स्टेट यू बिलोंग टू, कैन यू प्लीज टेल मी विच स्टेट यू बिलोंग टू डॉक्टर पाटिल?
Sir, actually, I belong to Maharashtra, and my
फाइन,
entire
बस ठीक
education
है।
is in Marathi medium.
नहीं ठीक है, समर्थ गुरु के क्षेत्र से आते हैं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, आप समर्थ आदमी हैं। ओके, नाउ सपोज जैसे आरके स्टूडियो आप समझ गए, ठीक है ना, वो राज कपूर की बात कर रहे हैं, तो जेके कहेंगे जितेंद्र कुमार को, के कहेंगे कृष्ण कुमार को, तो कोई काशीनाथ रहेगा तो उसको हिंदी में क्या कहेंगे, काना। हिंदी में एब्रिविएट करें तो काना हो जाएंगे, तो काना तो कोई कहता नहीं है। तो हम लोगों को शर्म हो गई, इस तरह से सही चीज ही गलत हो गई। With the passage of time and with English medium education and with the mental slavery that we have,
Yes, sir, please.
the wrong thing has become the right thing, and the right thing has gone into irrelevance. Now it will not stay here, I tell you. The time is not far when professors from Germany, England, America will come and teach you Sanskrit, and they will say that dharma is very, very different from religion. They will speak in English and you will believe that yes, dharma is very, very different.
Definitely, sir. Very few days before, some foreign scientists came to India, and they learned Sanskrit. And the next edition of computer generation will be based on Sanskrit only. My motive was behind asking this question. That generally I think dharma is dharma अधर्म को रोकने के लिए रहता है, एंड धर्म जहाँ है वहाँ अच्छाई होती है, तो उसके हिसाब से मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था। थैंक यू सर, थैंक
नहीं अभी क्वेश्चन आपका आंसर नहीं हुआ, थोड़ा be little patient, all right?
Yeah.
Because this is the fundamental thing that you have raised, and we teachers, at least first we have to get convinced, not that Dr. Tripathi is saying so, all right, for this session dharma is not religion, and after that the translation of dharma is religion. We have to ourselves explore uses of this term dharma. And religion comes from the Latin word that means regimentation. And that is why all the Semitic religions, okay, all right, I'm not saying that no, all religions are respectable, all right, but all Semitic religions, they have a feeling of exclusive community. Therefore, any Yahudi, anywhere, any part of the world is by birth citizen of Israel. That is one community, ye kabila hai. Similarly, in case of Christianity and in case of Islam also, all Semitic religions, they have this regimentation. And whatever the plus and minus, that is the part of history. I'm not going into it. But here, the dharma in true sense has never mean regimentation. Dharma is dhritihi kshama damosteyam shauchamindriya nigraha धीर विद्या सत्यम अक्रोध. There are 10 things that constitute dharma. Okay? अब इसको आप 50 कोटेशन देंगे, लेकिन हम ही लोग कन्विंस नहीं हो रहे जो इंग्लिश मीडियम वाले हैं कि धर्मा का ट्रांसलेशन रिलीजन नहीं है. धर्मा इज ए नॉन ट्रांसलेटेबल वर्ड. Okay? It cannot be translated into a single term religion. तो 10 उसके धर्म के कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं. पहला है धैर्य रखना, कितनी भी सब परिस्थिति खराब हो आपको धैर्य रखना. दूसरा है forgiveness, you have to learn to forgive people. Then you have to you have to live a disciplined life. ठीक है? दम का मतलब इंद्रियों से डिसिप्लिन लाइफ का जीवन जीना. Then अस्ते, not to steal anything, कोई चीज चुराना नहीं. Then शौच, जो आजकल पैंडेमिक में हो रहा है, क्लीनलीनेस तरफ से, क्लीनलीनेस, हाथ जरूर धोएं बार बार अपना, है ठीक है ना. तो हम लोग को पहले नहीं समझ में आता था. शास्त्र कहता है कि किताब खोलने के पहले भी हाथ धोना चाहिए और बंद करने के बाद भी धोना चाहिए. भोजन के पहले ये सब तो आता ही है, तो उसमें स्वाध्याय के पहले और बाद में भी आता है. तो कितना ठीक बात है भाई, किताब रखिए, पता नहीं क्या इन्फेक्शन उसमें हो जाए, तो पहले भी धो के आइए, बाद में भी धोइए. तो अब जब पैंडेमिक आया है तो ये हमको आज समझ में आया है. सच बताएं, हरी कल्याणी मैडम के आंसर में ये हमें आज समझ में आया है कि हस्त प्रक्षालनम कुर्यात स्वाध्याय भोजने तथा. तो भोजन तो समझ में आता था कि उसके पहले बाद में हाथ धोना चाहिए, है ना. हालांकि 5 स्टार होटल में ये बहुत दिक्कत वाला काम है, बेइज्जती वाली बात है ना. लेकिन स्वाध्याय में क्यों धोना चाहिए, पैंडेमिक में मुझे समझ में आया. ऑलराइट, देयरफॉर धृति, क्षमा, दमः, औस्तेय, शौच, क्लीनलीनेस और धीर मीन्स यूज ऑफ इंटेलेक्ट. ऐसा नहीं कोई कुछ कह दे उसको आप मान लीजिए. यू यूज योर ओन इंटेलेक्ट, यू टेस्ट द थिंग्स, यू कस एंड डिस्कस. विद्या, परसू द नॉलेज. सत्य, पाथ ऑफ ट्रूथ. और क्रोध, किसी पे क्रोध न करना. ये 10 धर्म के लक्षण हैं. इसमें पूजा पद्धति कहाँ आई, ये बताइए. ये तो सभी के लिए है. आप क्रिश्चियनिटी में जाइए, वो भी इनको कहते हैं, ये लव एंड फॉरगिवनेस आर द ग्रेटेस्ट वर्च्यू. इस्लाम में जाइए, वो भी यही बात कहते हैं. हम तो कह ही रहे हैं, ठीक है. तो धर्म का मतलब ये 10 चीजें हैं, इसमें कहीं से भी रिलीजन नहीं. ऑलराइट, देयरफॉर माय रिक्वेस्ट टू यंग टीचर्स इज that let us first be convinced ourselves and let us devote some time to study, because these are things that perhaps are going to touch upon the generations to come. Time series is good, we must be expert into that, that is fine, but values are more profound and fundamental. As a teacher, since we are in the profession of influencing generations, it is our dharma, our duty to clarify these things, these doubts like religion and dharma, and to convey in no uncertain terms the next generation who has the advantage of wide reading through internet and perhaps coming to better conclusion than what we had. All right, so that dharma and religion, they are two different things. Dharma is non-translatable word which has 10 features or 10 characteristics that I have described, right? Hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Because we are the real leaders of the society, though the prime minister, cabinet ministers will be different. But I think the future generation and future of the nation is in hands of the teachers. So
That's true.
this
People look to the
concept
teachers for
should be
guidance.
very
That's
clear
true.
concerning the teachers. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Patel. Yes.
Any other queries? Anything you want to know? You can ask sir about the topic which sir
Yes,
is discussing.
perhaps that would be better. I mean, not limiting only to this, all right? Because we are also in the phase of one-way traffic. We take now too little from the management field, and we are inclined to give away to the say younger generations, all right? So if you have any questions, any difficulties, any dogma, dichotomy in your day-to-day life as a teacher, perhaps this session may help you to address those.
I think there are no queries, sir. So we conclude this session.
Still some time is left, perhaps. I think 10 minutes are left, all right? Or 15 minutes. So, आप कैसे करेंगे? डिजिटल चाय पिलाएंगे हम लोगों को, क्या करेंगे?
नहीं, डिजिटल चाय नहीं. Okay, then I conclude the session. Sir, it is definitely very important to impart knowledge about value education, not only in higher education institutions, but at the primary level also, as one of the participants raised this question. And you have answered it very prominently what we have to do and how we can inculcate or educate our children about value education or human values, basically human values at the primary level. So it provide a holistic development of an individual. Value education is concerned with the development of total personality of the individual, intellectual, social, emotional, aesthetic, moral, and spiritual. Sir has explained the importance of value education and ethics very elaborately. At this juncture, I like to quote the words of C.S. Lewis. I quote, "Education without values, as useful as it is, seems rather to make a man more clever devil." I unquote. With these words, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Professor P.S. Tripathi sir, who has taken out time from his busy schedule to enlighten our participant with his wisdom. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So with the permission of the coordinators, I would like to leave the session. Am I permitted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you,
so
thank
much.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Participants will start tomorrow at 10 a.m. sharp. So kindly join the session. There are 2 participants, NAC ICT and LK. Kindly message your names, otherwise your attendance will not be taken. It will not be counted. So kindly message your names. If it is difficult to rewrite your name at the time of admission, so kindly message me your names, because you are continuously there in the session and it will become difficult for us to take your attendance. So message me your name so that we can take the attendance. And thank you all. We'll meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you, Abhijit.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.